What if I told you there's a theory that Bruno Madrigal from Encanto could actually be the real father of Alberto from Luca? It sounds crazy, but let's dive into it. When Alberto says, "Silence, Bruno," to Luca, doesn't it feel more like a paternal reprimand than just any random voice in his head? The way he says it sounds like something someone deeply caring would say, a piece of advice full of authority. Alberto reveals in a sad moment that he was abandoned by his father, leaving him completely alone. And what if that father's name was Bruno? Here's the boldest theory. What if Bruno from Encanto is actually Alberto's long-lost father? Interesting, right? Let's analyze this theory closely and see how these two worlds might be more connected than we ever imagined. Get ready to uncover all the mysteries of this fascinating hypothesis. As when Encanto was released and we saw that Uncle Bruno took a very different path from his twin sisters by not starting a family, fans immediately began to speculate. The imagination ran wild, and many started to believe that Bruno could have had a hidden child who was never revealed in the story. As the theory suggests that before Bruno hid in the Madrigal's basement, he made a radical decision. He left behind everything he knew and embarked on a surprising journey. Bruno climbed mountains and traveled to the picturesque town of Porto Rosso, Italy, a place so distant and charming that no one in his family would ever find him. In this peaceful setting, he found something he never expected. A unique distraction when he crossed paths with a sea creature. But there was a special detail. Out of the water, these creatures take on human form, and that's how Bruno fell in love with this mysterious woman, even though he knew she was actually a sea monster. Tafikirasi, however, the distant tai tindai so barasi torsidar kwenengsan dirsinda soboti, and this didn't bother him. After all, Bruno was used to the extraordinary. He himself had magical powers and lived in a house that practically had a life of its own. To him, this situation was just another quirk in his already peculiar world. From this unexpected romance between Bruno and the sea creature, a child was born, Alberto. Unfortunately, Alberto's mother may not have survived childbirth, leaving Bruno with the difficult task of raising the boy alone. But being able to see the future, Bruno had a disturbing vision. He needed to return to Casita to ensure that everything in Encanto happened as it should. Without him, Mirabel would be lost, without direction. Bruno also saw that, despite his loneliness, Alberto would eventually find his way and manage well on his own. Bruno had a vision in which one day Alberto would meet Luca, a friend who would understand him like no one else as they shared the same nature. Additionally, Alberto would meet Julia, a girl who would accept him exactly as he is, and who had loving parents, something Bruno deep down believed he couldn't provide for his son. With these images in mind, Bruno made the painful decision to leave Alberto behind and return to Casita. He knew he had to fulfill his destiny by helping Mirabel on her journey and ensuring that the miracle of Encanto happened as it should. A curious aspect that connects Bruno and Alberto is how both use unusual objects to gain courage. When Bruno transforms into Hernando, the fearless one, he puts a bucket on his head. Similarly, Alberto places a colander on Luca's head to encourage him to face his fears. This peculiar coincidence between the two characters suggests that the connection between them might be more significant than it appears. Another fascinating coincidence is that both Bruno and Alberto live in towers. Alberto lives in an isolated tower by the sea, a place he and his father used to call home. In Encanto, we see that Bruno has his room situated in a tower in Casita, which Mirabel explores on her journey. Additionally, Bruno's visions are revealed through a material that resembles a green emerald, and in Alberto's tower, there are several green glass bottles, as if they were mementos left by his father. These subtle and visual similarities suggest a deep and symbolic connection between the two characters. As the most intriguing detail is the phrases "silence Bruno," and we don't talk about Bruno. In both stories, Bruno's name is silenced in surprising ways, whether through the direct command to silence his voice or through the taboo surrounding him, as if his presence were a secret to be avoided. As these coincidences go beyond mere chance, suggesting a possible deeper connection between the two worlds. And you, what do you think of this theory? Could there be something more behind these similarities? Leave your opinion in the comments and join us in exploring and debating this fascinating idea. Let's investigate how Bruno's predictions in Encanto might have left a mark not only on Alberto's life, but also on Lucas. In the movie, Bruno's ability to predict the future is crucial to the narrative and the events that occur in Encanto. These visions aren't just secondary details. They deeply shape the plot and have a lasting impact on the characters. Now, imagine how these predictions could have transcended Casita and influenced the fate of Alberto and Luca. Bruno's power to see the future, might have created a subtle connection between these worlds, intertwining their stories in surprising ways. Let's explore how this ability could have reverberated beyond the boundaries of Encanto and impacted the universes of Alberto and Luca. If we consider that Bruno, after leaving Casita in Encanto, went to Porto Rosso and met Alberto's mother, this suggests that his visions could have significantly influenced his choices and actions. Bruno, by predicting the future, would have known that it was essential to return to Casita to ensure that the story unfolded correctly, with Mirabel playing a key role in restoring the Madrigal family. Bruno's predictions could have guided not only his own steps but also Alberto's fate and in some way even Lucas. This power to see the future might have shaped the trajectory of everyone involved, creating a web of events and decisions that connect their worlds in profound and unexpected ways. Bruno could have seen that Alberto would face a life full of challenges and loneliness, but also that he would eventually meet someone who would understand and accept him. His predictions might have shown Alberto that he would go through a period of isolation, but that Lucas' arrival, someone who shares his nature and understands his own struggles, would bring a unique and deep understanding. Additionally, Bruno could have foreseen the arrival of Julia, whose family is welcoming and understanding, as part of Alberto's destiny. This vision could have been the assurance that, even if Bruno couldn't be by his son's side, Alberto would find a new family and a home where he felt accepted and loved. Bruno's ability to predict possible futures and his need to distance himself from Alberto to face his own challenges could have been part of a broader strategy. Bruno's decision to return to Casita and help Mirabel might have been based on a vision that showed a final balance between his family and Alberto's life. If Bruno saw a future where Alberto would be well cared for and accepted, even without his father's direct presence, it could have deeply influenced his choice to leave him and return to fulfill his role in Encanto. The certainty that Alberto would find safety and love, even in Bruno's absence, might have been a crucial factor in his decision to prioritize the mission of helping Mirabel and ensuring that the Madrigal family found the stability they needed. Thus, Bruno's predictions go beyond the events of Encanto, also reflecting how he shaped his own path to ensure that the important people in his life, including Alberto, had the opportunity to find their destiny and happiness. These visions could have served as a way to guarantee that, even from afar, Bruno contributed to Alberto's well-being and helped chart his future alongside Luca and Julia. By adjusting his actions based on what he foresaw, Bruno not only sought to resolve his own issues but also made sure that those he loved found a safe and promising path, even in his absence. In both films, Luca and Encanto, the characters face the feeling of exclusion due to traits that make them seem different or inadequate. In Luca, the characters are marginalized for their true identity as sea monsters and need to hide who they really are to avoid prejudice. In Encanto, Mirabel faces painful exclusion within her own family for not having a magical power, something highly valued among her relatives. These narratives show how the protagonists struggle to overcome rejection and prove their own worth in search of acceptance and recognition. Both films depict the journey of asserting oneself and finding a place where they are understood and embraced. As the characters experience a life of isolation, with Alberto living in an isolated tower by the sea and Bruno hiding in a secret tower within Casita, these physical spaces aren't just shelters, but also symbolize their need to distance themselves from the outside world and protect themselves from the consequences of being different. As the absence and lack of family support are themes that permeate Alberto's and Bruno's stories, both face deep challenges due to the absence or rejection of significant figures in their lives. Alberto faces the pain of being abandoned by his father, while Bruno distances himself from his family out of fear of causing more suffering. These experiences of isolation and rejection shape their journeys and their ways of seeking acceptance and connection. As there are some reservations regarding this theory, mainly due to the distinction between the studios responsible for the films. Luca is a Pixar creation, while Encanto belongs to Disney. Despite Pixar's acquisition by Disney, the two companies still maintain different styles and approaches in their productions. Disney is widely known for its musical and colorful animations, often featuring musical numbers and a vibrant palette. In contrast, Pixar is renowned for its deeper and more emotional narratives, often evoking an intense emotional response. Although both are part of the same conglomerate, as their stories and styles tend to differ, which creates some resistance when trying to merge the universes of these two films. Even though Luca and Encanto share some similar themes such as the struggle for acceptance and the journey of self-discovery, the execution of these themes is done in distinct ways. Luca focuses on friendship and the fear of being discovered for who you really are, while Encanto emphasizes the importance of family, cultural heritage, and individual contributions to collective well-being. As these thematic differences highlight the stylistic division between Pixar and Disney, making it more difficult to integrate the two films into a single cohesive narrative. Therefore, although it's fascinating to explore the connections between these stories, it's important to recognize the creative and stylistic differences that set them apart. In summary, while this theory presents a creative and intriguing connection between Luca and Encanto, exploring the possibility that Bruno could be Alberto's father, we must recognize the stylistic and narrative differences between Disney and Pixar films. Despite the existence of some thematic similarities and visual details that reinforce this connection, the differences between the two studios' approaches and the execution of their stories create a barrier to merging these two universes into a single coherent theory. Akizipida kindeshin parsa tu sumankivaster.